Parenting creative problem solvers. We really want to do, and we've been promising for a while, we just haven't pulled it off. I have been coaching some parents, and to be really clear, I've said to those parents when they ask me to help them, I said, look, I don't do parenting therapy or anything like parenting development, etc. Because no parent wants to be told how to parent their child, in terms of everyday conversation. But we were talking about, they said, no, we love what you're about. We love that you got these kids' books. Love that you've got this parenting handbook, but could you actually coach us in how to parent our kids better in creativity? And I said, well, I can certainly share with you the principles of how BIF translates for parenting our next gen, because we fundamentally believe, and it's such a big part of what we're about. And so we've sort of agreed to do a masterclass session with them and their parents around a dinner table and bring them together and film that and make it as a resource. But I thought in the interim of getting that done, I thought I'd do a little sort of handheld intro into this little handbook and put some context around why we've done it. This came about, the Parenting Creative Problem Solvers handbook came about because I'd written this story about that we called Ideas Girl for my own daughter. We'd produced the book, and it was about creative problem solving, designed to nurture her into her creativity and support that. Because all the science says as soon as she was entering into formal education, she was going to start being educated out of that innate talent. And I was like, well, surely I'm an innovator and I can do something about that. So we created this story, we produced this book, printed the book, we put them in a local bookstore, they sold out. She went to school, told her teacher that my dad has written a book about me. And I was like, no, I haven't really. But I came into the school, did a masterclass with the teacher, with the kids, ran a workshop. So we created a process on the way that we could work with kids. And what we were trying to do was translate sort of 20 years of innovation with enterprise into an experience that we could do for kids around creative problem solving. That worked extraordinarily well, way beyond anything we could imagine. But then we went to, the experience went to every class in her year, then it went to every class in the school. Then I trained all the teachers to be able to do this for themselves and to take some of these elements and put them into the curriculum. And then we realized it started going really well, and all the results you'd expect from that. So the kids are having outrageous ideas and solving crazy problems from silly and big and purposeful and meaningful in the classroom. The teachers are now knowing why they're trying to educate for that as well. And then we notice the kids are taking that home and bumping up against the parents' capacity to be confident, creative parents or not. And their beliefs in their own creativity, their beliefs in the value of ideas, etc. And we went, well, we need to somehow support the parents at home. And so that's where we wrote this little handbook. And so what this handbook is designed to do is to yes, talk about the urgent need about why nurturing creativity in our kids is so important. When we look at, for the first line says, the robots are coming. And so this notion that, so much of our world is going to be automated, the impact of digital and technologies everywhere, software eating into more and more and more of human talents and human productivity. The bit that's left over is going to be those empathetic, curious, collaborative, creative talents that are ultimately about our deep creativity. So we believe it's really important to nurture that. So we want to support parents to be able to nurture that. So this handbook is designed to speak to parents and give them some confidence to be able to at least knowingly parent for their kids' creativity. It first speaks to your creativity and introduces you to the neuroscience of your creative brain so that you can see that regardless of whether you're a parent yet, just as a human individual, you are a creative person. Because as we say, if you have a brain, you are creative. It's not if you are, it's how you are. So we introduce you to that. And then we take you through in terms of introducing you to just really 3 very simple BIFKiDS principles. BIFKiDS, Better Ideas Faster by Kids. That's what we wrap up this programmatic content under. Let me just quickly talk you through those 3 principles. So they are, the number 1, we look at little people's creativity and we call them as being little people with big ideas. That's number 1. Number 2, we talk about the importance of little people in the outdoors, in the natural world, which is just an amazing environment to be naturally nurturing their creativity. And then we talk about number 3, that these little moments are big moments. So just very quickly to just put some context around those so that when you read this handbook, you have them in mind. The idea of little people with big ideas, this actually comes from my wife, who should be doing this as much as I am. She's the family therapist in our family, formally qualified. What she talks about and what she introduced me to and how it relates to creativity is when, in an old school way, unbeknownst of any other talent and knowledge, when people come to do, brainstorming, side note, a completely unproductive way to treat your creativity at work, but that's another video. In those brainstorms, people often write up all these rules about how to treat people's creativity, that we have to be respectful of it, that we have to listen to everyone else, that we have to build on other people's ideas. We put rules around adult creativity. And yet sometimes when I see adults interacting with kids, is they just dismiss their creativity. They'll often talk about it being childish. They often won't treat with respect a kid's creativity the same they would treat an adult. And so what we want to do is to start to see our kids as little people. And if we think of them as little people, then the way we treat their creativity is way more respect. We listen to it, we observe it, we support it, we nurture it, we build upon it, we play with it. And so we see that what they've got is these huge ideas inside them. They have way bigger ideas than our adult brains can get to, because they're mostly in this alpha state, which you'll come and learn about in here. So the principle is that we look at these, as we treat them as little people. That's all they are. They're little people, and they've got really big ideas. And our role as parents, even though we sometimes can't get with those ideas, is we just nurture them and recognize them and support them. And this comes from when we came up with the titles of these kids' books called Ideas Girl and Ideas Boy. What we noticed was the validation when we just said, that's an amazing idea, you're such an ideas girl. That's an amazing idea, you're such an ideas boy. The validation of them as little people with creativity, little creative humans. It's such a validating moment that they then start seeing that they can be rewarded for more of this creativity. It's such an easy way for us parents to be able to recognize, validate, and reward those moments of them being creative. Number 2, little people in the outdoors. Look, so much of what us parents fight now is screen time and the indoor life of being on screens, being it on mobiles, on tablets, on PlayStation, on TV, constant screen life. And you know, as a parent, as I know, we're always battling to try and limit the amount of screen time they have. The thing about screens, even though they can be incredible creative tools, is the world when you're looking at that screen is finite. It's all prescriptive. There is code behind it that turns it into a finite world. It feels like it's amazingly entertaining and creative, but it's a prescribed world. And so the thing we have to try and do as much as we can as parents is get our kids out in the natural world, because it's in that space where nothing is prescribed and it draws on their creativity, where they can play with that natural world. And as we know, a big part of creativity and future-proofing their creativity is what's happening when their kids in the development and the neuroscience of the creative brain is neurons are wiring up. So we're wiring and firing creativity. And the more that we can nurture and support that as a parent, the more creativity will be wired for in our kids. So the outdoors and it's not prescribed out there. It's a blank canvas in which nature, and there's lots of science about when kids are climbing trees and out in the wild, it actually engenders this neuroscience pathway through their bodies and into the brain that is wiring for that creativity. Used to happen all the time back in the day before screens. We need to, as parents, try and do that as much as we can, even though we respect and acknowledge that it's not easy these days, and it's such an easy solution to just go, here, have the phone for 10 minutes and I get a break. Number 3 is just to know that it's what we're not suggesting is a whole new way that you have to be a fully realized innovator to be able to parent this way. It's not that. All we're saying, number 3, is that these little moments are big moments. Every now and then we know that with our young kids, they come to us and present their creativity to us. Look what I did. Look what I've created. The Lego thing, the drawing, the playmaking, the dress up. It's at that moment you've got to think about what head have you got on. And all you have to be aware of as a parent is to be able to look at that moment when they're presenting your creativity to you, recognize it. That's all you have to do. I see you, I recognize you, you are a little creative human, and that is fantastic. That's all you have to do. That's all our handbook does. It introduces you to, it's designed to reconnect you with your own creativity and help you become more confident in it so that you can parent for it, and 3 easy principles of how you parent for it. They're little people and they have big ideas. Let's try and get them outside and have natural world wire their creativity. And then when those moments happen, try and check with yourself and clock which head have I got on, because I'm trying to get with them and validate that creativity. Those 3 things will absolutely transform your parenting performance, if we can say that, such that you will be confidently building your capabilities to parent for their creative problem solving, and deliver this promise of, look, we talk about our kids are little people with big ideas. They are going to need them in the future, and we can help parent them into them. Get into the handbook. Let us know how you go.